Hello everyone, this is Gary from iFullTest channel. Let's learn together to become a full stack tester. In this video, I'm going to detail the API, remove a purchase from your one items list, and how to script the corresponding testing script. Let's start. The API means hide a listing from the one item list. The key request fields are as below. The API's HTTP method is delete, and it needs authentication. The request field purchase ID means the ID of the purpose to hide. From this field, we can infer this request needs to correlate with the upstream transaction, retrieve your one items to get the one items purchase ID first on the one items list. Then we could run our current API to remove those items. And also, we can use this same upstream transaction to check whether items have been hidden from the one items list after we run our current API. So the basic logic: retrieve, delete, retrieve again. The key response fields are as below. This is the example request and the response. Let's start the scripting work. See, the request is as below. In the last video, we store all the purchase ID we fetched and the counter of this purchase ID from the response and set them to environmental variables for our current API to use. Now is the time we use this dynamic data. See here, we first get these variables and split the transaction into three situations. When the count of purchase ID transferred from upstream equals to 0, we initial a purchase ID and transfer it to our main API. Then let the API send a minionnaise request. When the count of purchase ID equals to 1, we set this purchase ID as an environmental variable and transfer it to our main API. To use. When the count of purchase ID is more than 1, we first save the last purchase ID to an environmental variable and wait for our main API to invoke. Meanwhile, we assemble the same main API as a pre-request and loop all but the last purchase ID. Then we could leave the last item just for our main API to remove from the one item list. Here we need to notice that this pre-request needs authentication information, and our main API also needs authentication. How to get authentication related fields? Please refer to the first video of this series. Till now, we have fulfilled the purpose of removing all items on the one item list, but we still need to verify the final result through assembling the upstream API retrieve your one items. Look at the code. First, assemble the upstream API with authenticated with authentication related information. Second, to check the response field. Total count. If it equals to 0, mark transaction status as pass. Otherwise, mark it as failed. We could check the initial status from the TradeMe front-end UI side before we send the requests. See, we have 3 items on the 1 items list. Let us send the request and check from the test results and the console log. Send the upstream request first. Get response. Then second, send our carded request. See, we have 2 assertions. One is from the pre-request script to circulate all but the last items on the 1 items list and remove them. Another is from the post request to check whether still have items existed on the 1 items list. Get the whole testing process from the console log will be more detailed and easy to understand. First, we get the last purchase ID. And circulated delete other items on the watch list. Second, send the main request to remove the last item on the 1 items list. Third, to fetch the count of items on the 1 items list to prove our main API request has been executed successfully. We can check from our front-end UI side. See, we have removed all the 1 items from the 1 items list. Continue to enhance the script, such as parameterization, and extend negative testing cases to cover as much as possible the business scope. Till now, we have gone through all the API details, so let me wrap up this video. First, we get the dynamic data from the environmental variables set by upstream API, retrieve your 1 items. Second, we split the cases through the count of items on the watch list, on the one items list. If it has 0 items, we set a meaningless purchase ID to let the main API execute. If it has 1 item, we set this value to the environmental variable to give the main API to remove. If it has more than one item, we use the same API, main API, as a pull request to remove those items and still leave the last item to give the main API to remove. Third, we assemble the main API request with authentication information. Fourth, we assemble other upstream API retrieval1 items to check the transaction's final status. Finally, see any negative cases we can develop to extend the coverage of the corresponding transaction. The next video will detail the API general search, and the same way it will store some dynamic data as environment variables to prepare for the downstream API to use. If you like this video or series, don't forget to click subscribe. Your encouragement would be my motivation to publish full stack testing related practices continuously. See you next time.